Hi, I'm Michael Nolan. I'm Senior Acquisitions Editor for New Riders, and we're here at South by Southwest 2008 in Austin, Texas, and I'm happy to be interviewing my friend and our author, DL Byron, who wrote Publish and Prosper, Blogging for Your Business. And that book came about because of South by Southwest.
That's correct. I think it was two or 3 years ago when I was here speaking on a panel with Jason Fried, Molly Holschlag, I think Jim Kudal was on that, and Zeldman was on that, and I think Scoble was on that, and you were in the audience. We got to talking, and then we went out to dinner, and I think we did a long walk down Congress and talked all about it, and I believe a year later we started writing a book.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the book.
The book, the theme, what we were trying to really do with the book, and kind of what we do with my agency and the kind of blogging we've always done is practical business blogging. So we want to try to take an approach that talks about how blogging can work for business, what it means, and kind of pull it away from the buzzwords. And I think those buzzwords are also happening now in Web 2.0 and social media. There's a lot of buzzwords going around. It's like, what can that mean for my business? Mm-hmm. How can I start blogging? How can it help me sell more product or promote my business or promote myself? So that was really the approach we took. And I think it was pretty well received.
I think it has been, and many businesses are afraid of blogging.
Correct. For good reason.
For good reason. And,
yes.
And what do you say to them?
Well, what we've always said is blog your own way. And that's how the companies that we write about, which are Boeing, new companies now, Intel, IBM, and others, they really took the good things about blogging and used them to their advantage. Mm-hmm. So, example would be you don't have to turn on comments if you don't want to invite flames. You want to just use what you can for the advantage of your business. A lot of companies, the first thing we recommended was that they would start using RSS. So you can easily turn on RSS onto a website and allow your users and your readers to get your information they want, the way they want, instead of just having it be an old type of site. So that's a blogging technology that you can use without any real impact to PR or media or anything that a company may be worried about.
Now, Boeing, you're from Seattle,
yes.
And Boeing is one of the companies you work for.
That's absolutely correct, yeah.
What would Boeing blog about?
Well, what Boeing blogged about, and is still blogging about today, is they blogged about their flight test journal was one of the first ones, and they also have a blog called Randy's Journal, which is about the 787 program, the Dreamliner program, and it's really an evangelism blog. So they're talking about what they're doing with the plane, where the plane's, the first plane that's coming out, what the first flight's going to be like, the composites and stuff. And in that sense, what happened with them is they really learned that they could not only get the messaging out about the blog and get feedback on that messaging about the plane, but they could also talk about things like the window size, the interior lighting, and they start talking about what they're doing with the plane and start getting feedback, and they were absolutely overwhelmed. They didn't anticipate or understand how important windows are to business travelers. Business travelers are very particular about their windows, and they heard about it. So that was a great example. Now, what's really exciting that we're doing with Boeing and other companies is we're blogging internally. And I think that's really the next wave. The next wave is intranet blogging, where companies are using blog technologies internally the same way you do externally to be able to find stuff, to communicate, to have a two-way conversation. All the stuff that blogging did on the internet is now happening on the intranet. Boeing, Intel, all these other Fortune 100 companies are doing it, as well as smaller companies.
So blogging on the intranet.
Absolutely, it's huge right now. And the difference, of course, it's on the internet, so you don't hear about it as much, but there's a lot going on right now.
A lot going on.
And mostly it's the same thing where SharePoint sites or typical intranet sites or some homegrown system, they can't find anything. And so a CEO or an executive will be on the internet and say, I want to find baseball scores, and it comes right up. Like, well, I want to be able to find stuff on my intranet, like what are the holiday hours or what are pay schedules or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they find that if they bust out of old CMSs and put it into blog technologies with SxSW, the stuff like Jeffrey would talk about, standards-based design, all that kind of stuff that makes it easily searchable, then they have the same ability to find stuff on their intranet that they do on the extranet, on the intranet. Internet.
So, you've been to China quite a lot the past year. And that was blogging related.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
How did that come about?
That's a good question. How that works is now what we're doing with companies is we're creating social connections back. And a blog that I'm part of the reason I'm here at South by Southwest is for Bike Hugger. Bike Hugger is a blog about bike culture, and there's a theme of bike culture everywhere I travel. So what we do is when we go into a city for an event like South by Southwest, or the events that we go to are the Intel Developer Forums, and the next one is going to be in Shanghai. So when we go there, we're supporting our client, Intel, we're blogging for them about their event, but we're also doing things out in the city that are on bikes. So we could also do that if we were runners or if we were joggers or whatever we were doing. And what that does is it creates a natural social connection back to Intel, talking about their technologies and talking about what they're doing. So we start, as you would find out on the internet, you start finding these threads and themes and you start tying them together and you mix them up. One of the things I've been talking about recently with design is that we used to design websites as cul-de-sacs. We'll come in and we want to keep you there. So websites now are more like a thoroughfare or a wayport on the way to other things that are going on. So how this ties in is there's all these interconnections that are made on the internet in the blogosphere. We're talking about those and showing them online, just as you would do when you go out and browse. So for a company that's getting into blogging or social media, we start creating social connections and linking back to their technology that they're talking about. Does that all make sense?
It does. So
I just made all that up, right?
So Intel pays you to go to China and blog for them. Is that sort of what it boils down to?
How it boils down to is yes, but there's some more finesse to it, which is a social media strategy of we're talking a lot about what Intel is doing, but we're also with Intel out in the cities and the communities that we arrive in. So instead of the Intel Developer Forums are their evangelism event. They go out and they go to cities and they talk about their technologies and they meet with the local resellers and the local developers and manufacturers. And so we're not locked into an event and in a conference all day. We want to get out into the community and out and sightsee and see what's going on with Intel and then talk about that on Flickr, on YouTube, on Google Video, create these experiences online that people can share. It's the zeitgeist around an event.
Sort of what we're doing here.
It's exactly what we're doing here. Yes, same thing, and we're capturing it.
Video captures, and
the
we're going to
Flickr
offer
stream,
them
the
to
tagging,
our audience.
Twitter. We're going to talk. We'll be on Twitter. We'll be on Flickr. We'll be on all of those things that make natural sense because what's happening now in blogging, and I think a lot of companies struggle to understand, even with social media, is they're always trying to find the next hook. They're trying to find the next thing. Is it Twitter or is it some vowel-less new Web 2.0 thing, Teggers or whatever?
Yeah.
So what it really always comes down to is content is king, and that's never been more important than right now. Because there's so much out there now, and they're trying to figure out, well, do I need to be on Twitter? What is it? Do I need to be on Flickr? What you need to do is create the content that people want to read or want to see. And we describe it as like putting messages in a bottle. You throw those messages out there, and someone's going to start picking them up. And you never know which message exactly will get picked up, but when it does, it's huge. That's kind of what we're doing right now.
So your consultancy then is about creating a social strategy for a large company.
And we
that's
followed
way beyond just blogging.
Way beyond just blogging, yeah. And that just followed with the market. I mean, when we started writing the book, that was all Occidental entrepreneurship with talking about blogging, where that was what I had been doing for a product that my company brought to market, Clip and See, a little bag clip. And the storyline there is that we started doing it. It was a natural progression because we had been blogging ourselves for years, just like Zeldin had done, or any of the other guys that are your authors and women. And so as that market went from blogging, that was the first phase, into Flickr, more social media stuff, YouTube, Facebook, all these other things, we've also followed along in helping our clients understand what that means and the impact.
Cool.
So, yeah, good stuff.